This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Films and fermentation, movies and inebriation. Films and fermentation, comedy mixed with tasty libations. Films and fermentation, with Leo, Catman and Mike. Films and fermentation, movies and inebriation. Films and fermentation, comedy mixed with tasty libations. Films and fermentation, with Leo, Catman and Mike.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Films and Fermentation. This is our next episode, episode 172. When this episode drops, it'll be right around Veterans Day. So we are doing a special Veterans Day episode. We're calling it Armed Forces Actors, and you'll find out why in a little bit. We are, as I said, Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast, the #1 pop culture podcast on Good Pods. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
And thank you to Mike, who is a veteran himself. And thank you to all veterans out there for your service. Yes, this is a Michael-specific episode. We're three friends like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we're saluting the actors who traded in scripts for service. Yep, these Hollywood stars actually suited up before they ever hit the red carpet. Think of it as Rambo meets reality, only with fewer explosions and more boot camp. So grab a drink and settle in as we dive into the surprising military backgrounds of some of your favorite screen icons. Who knew a few of them could actually back that tough talk? Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family. We are an independent podcast, which means we are listener supported. So please consider joining our Patreon for as little as $1 a month to receive members-only content. Go to patreon.com/filmsandfermentation or purchase some of our merchandise at Films and Fermentation's Teespring store at fermentedfilms.creator-spring.com. You can also text us any messages, any suggestions, comments, whatever you'd like to our official text line at 904-867-4466. That's 904-867-4466. Now that we got the work out of the way, what are we drinking tonight, gentlemen? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Don't jump
I'll
at
go
it.
first.
Go ahead, Kev.
Bear with me 1 second because I thought I had the name of it, and here it is. Okay. This is a traditional Army drink, so,
Beer?
Mike, let me know if I'm...
Bourbon.
This is called the gunfire drink, traditional gunfire drink. Simple recipe. Gunfire consists of 1 cup of black tea, which I have right here, and 1 shot of rum. And it may have a little more than 1 shot in this, but apparently it is a traditional Christmas drink in the Army. So to give you a little bit of the history about it. Oh, sorry. Okay. This is what I wanted to say. During the First World War, a gunfire breakfast is thought to have included biscuits and jam, tiny corned beef served with coffee, and a splash of rum or condensed milk. It was often consumed in darkness due to fears that the fire, smoke, or even the steam of the drinks would give away the position to the enemy. It was not served hot. Well, this is warm because I it's not like I let it sit out, but it is. Cheers, gentlemen. So,
All right. Mike, you were in the Army. What did you guys drink at
World War I
Christmas?
has a little,
sorry.
there was beer. There was since a lot of time I was in Germany, so there's a lot of beer. There was Glühwein. A lot of people drank their favorite cocktails like rum and coke, Jack, Jim, Jose. The four J's.
all the J's, Jack, Jim.
Jose and Johnny.
Where else were you? Because I know you were in Germany for most of the time, but you did serve.
States. I was a year in Bosnia.
Mhm.
No drinking was happening there. And then I spent the last 2 years at Bragg.
Okay. So, what are you drinking this evening, then, sir?
Well, since I got home late,
Mhm.
and then of course, Adrian had some things she wanted me to do because she couldn't do them. I didn't get a chance to really look to see what we had, so I just went in the refrigerator and grabbed a Mike's Hard Black Cherry Lemonade.
Oh, it's okay. They named it after you for a reason. As I sit here watching Kevin struggle with a tea bag that he doesn't know what to do with.
It's been a while, and it's a little bitter.
You put it on your head, Kevin. You put it on your head.
Yeah.
Called tea bag.
Tea bag yourself.
No. Teabag
So,
yourself,
in honor of Mike tonight, I am drinking something he gave me. So it's kind of like an honor, but it's also a gift. So I'm drinking 8 Shires Colonial Distilleries James City Shire Gin, which you gave me for my birthday. Which
How do you like
is
it?
very, very tasty. I had some that night. I took a shot of it, and I was like, "This is very smooth for a gin." Like, normally I mix my gins. This one I could drink straight, and but I'm not drinking it straight tonight because I do have to teach tomorrow. So I'm mixing it with a little bit of Sprite for color, But it is very, very good, very tasty.
Oh yeah.
Kev, how's it going over there?
Oh. Well, I mean, they may have drank it because it was what they had. I don't think they did it for the flavor.
Maybe it's better cold, like they were drinking it.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe
I have a feeling.
Or something.
Well, most likely this is World War One, and in the trenches, they probably drank it to keep warm.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a warm drink to keep warm with alcohol in it.
I just have a feeling in a few minutes Kevin might be sending a text to Megan asking her to bring him a beer. Mike, anything special happened this week?
This week in film history, 1935, Mutiny on the Bounty, directed by Frank Lloyd and starring Charles Langdon and Clark Gable, premieres in New York. Best production / picture in 1936.
Yeah, back then they in the Oscars they didn't just call it Best Picture; it was Best Picture / production, like Best Produced Movie as well. A movie I'm familiar with but never saw. Like I've heard of the film, I know the actors in it.
I've seen the later versions.
Yeah, like there's a couple remakes of it.
There's one with Brando.
Yeah. I think Patrick Stewart did one too, like a TV movie version of it.
Might have.
Yeah, so like there's a few remakes. I've seen those. I know a little something about that second fact to get on there, sir.
The original reboot.
Yeah.
The 1956 biblical drama film, The Ten Commandments, directed by Cecil B. DeMille, starring Charlton Heston, and Yul Brynner premieres at the Criterion
Criterion.
Theater
Mm.
in New York City.
So the joke there is it's the original reboot in that Cecil B. DeMille did the Ten Commandments as a silent film and then remade it himself in 1956 as a big budget epic. And if you'd like to know more about our opinions of
With
this
a cast
film,
of thousands.
yeah, cast of thousands. If you'd like to know more of our opinion of this film or hear my not so concise summary of the plot, where I listed every single element that I noticed in the 4.5 hour watch, check out our earlier episode on the Ten Commandments. It's from last Easter, so I want to say it's probably like episode 1 in the 140s to 150s area somewhere. So we did a whole episode on the Ten Commandments and was a very fun and entertaining episode.
Let my people go.
People go.
Let my people go and film this again.
Let my people podcast. All right, Mike, what's your next one?
1968 psychedelic feature film Head, starring the Monkees, and co-written by Jack Nicholson, premieres in New York City.
All right, so when I read these facts earlier today and I saw this one, I was like, what?
I saw this one and went, I have to put this on here.
Yeah, I had to put this on here. I've never heard of this film. I didn't know that Jack Nicholson ever wrote a film. The fact that he wrote a film starring the Monkees makes it even better. I mean, I've seen a couple of the Monkees movies, and I used to watch the TV show when it was in syndication.
Yeah.
You know, and I like some of the Monkey songs, but I never heard of this, and I really want to watch it. But I feel like I need to drop a couple CBD gummies before I do.
Can you name, because Megan and I, ironically or eerily, were talking about this at dinner tonight. Can you name the four monkeys?
It's Peter Tork, Davy Jones, Michael Nesmith, and oh god, I can't remember the fourth one.
Mickey
Dolenz. Mickey Dolenz, yeah.
I probably
Mickey-
I didn't get all the first names. I probably get the last name.
I got
Yeah.
the first names at dinner. I didn't get the last names. And Megan was like, well, isn't there one that
I think I got Nesmith's.
Grandmother invented whiteout? I was like, yeah, that was Mike. That was the one with the
okay.
Yeah, she did.
I think I got Nesmith's first name wrong.
It's Peter.
I said
No,
Michael.
Oh,
No, it's Peter Nesmith. Michael Nesmith is oh no, it is Michael Nesmith. I got it right.
Michael Nesmith and Peter.
I'm looking at
what
it
was
here.
it?
And
What you said,
Peter Tork,
Peter Tork.
Davy Jones,
Jones.
Michael Nesmith, and Mickey Dolenz.
yeah.
Yes.
Mickey Dolenz had a really hot daughter who did a few movies in the 80s that I really enjoyed only because she was in them. Her name was Amy Dolenz. What was I looking up? Oh, I'm looking up Head.
Hey,
Go into dark mode. You don't want that in your algorithm.
I'm in the incognito mode. No, I'm looking up the film that Mike just talked about, Head, starring Peter Tork, Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz, Mike Nesmith, Victor Mature, Annette Funicello, and a bunch of people. Oh, Sonny Liston, the boxer's in it. Jesus Christ! The Monkees frolic their way through a series of musical set pieces and vignettes containing surreal humor and anti-establishment social commentary, written by director Bob Rafelson, Mickey Dolenz, and Jack Nicholson. I might have to watch this later.
we may have to put it on the list of movies you need to be drunk to watch.
Or at least somewhat
Yeah.
high, maybe. Next one you got there, sir.
1973 James Bond film Man with the Golden Gun, starring Roger Moore, begins filming.
Is this Roger Moore's first?
I don't think it's Roger Moore's first, but the Man with the Golden Gun was Christopher Lee.
Yes. Yeah, one of his early villain roles.
He had 3 nipples.
I'm glad you remembered that fact about it. Next, if your next fact is about a film I saw in a theater, because this was around the time that I was like obsessed with seeing every Oscar-nominated film in the theater, and it's probably the most lackluster Best Picture film I have ever seen, because I have not seen it since that viewing, and couldn't tell you anything that happened in the goddamn film. Go ahead, tell us what it is.
1996, The English Patient, based on a novel by Michael
Good luck. Even I don't know how to say that.
Andenici,
On
directed by
Diachi, I
Anthony
guess. That's
Minghella,
Minghella.
and starring Ralph Fiennes, Juliette
Binoche.
Binoche,
Mhm.
Kristen Scott Thomas, premieres in the Los Angeles Best Picture 1997.
I could also tell you Juliette Binoche won Best Supporting Actress for that film, and I don't know what she did in it. Saw the movie once, didn't care for it, never saw it again. If you want to see a good Ray Fiennes movie, though, check out Conclave. I just went to the movies to see it recently, and it is a really, really good. And it's funny, we did political movies last week. It's a political thriller, but it's a political thriller about the voting for a new pope, which makes it really interesting. And it's really, really good. And I know your wife says she likes Stanley Tucci, Mike, so she needs to see this movie because he is a force of nature in this film. It's a really good movie. We got some more James Bond coming up here.
Oh, yeah. In 1999, The World Is Not Enough, 19th James Bond film, premieres in Los Angeles, starring Pierce Brosnan, Robert Carlyle, Robbie Coltrane, and Denise Richards.
Yes, this is the film with Denise Richards playing the most believable physicist
Nuclear
in the history of
scientist.
cinema. Nuclear scientist in the history of cinema.
What
They
was
were
her
just-
name too?
They
Christmas.
were just so happy they finally got Pierce Brosnan as James Bond.
They were like, we can. Everybody out there will forgive us if we put the Wild Things girl in there as a nuclear physicist.
She looks hot. They don't care. She's a Bond girl.
Christmas Jones. What's he say? And there's like a really like cheesy James Bond line in there too, where it's like something about visiting her between the holidays or something.
Yeah, it was the end. It was the end credit where where is James Bond? Oh well, we can zoom in on him with infrared, and
Yeah,
it's him and her. I like to come between the holidays.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
What's your next one there, sir?
2001, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the first film adaptation of the book series by J.K. Rowling. Pardon. Starring Daniel Radcliffe, premieres in London, titled Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in some markets.
Yeah, in the American markets, because the Americans are apparently too dumb to know what a philosopher's stone is.
What the philosopher? Like a magician? Is that a magician stone?
I saw this in the theater when it premiered, and ended up having to leave early because I was picking Katie up from work, and I didn't realize how long the movie was. And so I had to go back to watch it a second time so I could see the ending. So I technically saw this movie like 1 3/4 times in the theater when it premiered.
And that was before it was even the director's cut.
Yeah,
the extended cut, like the
I-
Lord
I-
of the Rings. It was initially 5 hours long.
yeah. I hadn't read the book prior to, so I didn't know how it ended, so I had to go see it again. And speaking of Harry Potter,
And 2005, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the fourth film based on the book by J.K. Rowling, premieres in London. Goes on to become the most successful film of the year, earning almost $900 million US.
Jesus. I would love to that's something I'd have to research, like kind of figure out which Harry Potter films were like the highest grossing and like where they ranked in the box office mojo that year and all that. I would think that this is probably like close to the top if it made close to $1 billion.
Probably.
So, Mike, yeah, you have any must-try beer or craft destinations for this evening, sir?
I have a must-try beer. It is Cold IPA by Eclectic Brewing, Portland, Oregon. Collaboration beers are always special, but this one may represent the birth of a new IPA, or maybe just a reimagining of a brute IPA. brewmasters John Harris of Eclectic and Kevin Davey of Wayfinder were after a Western than West Coast sort of beer, extra crisp and hop forward. To that end, they used Pilsner malt and a lager yeast to brew this 8% alcohol by volume trendsetter, and it has inspired many breweries to their hand to try their hand at a cold IPA. This one is hazy, yellow orange in the glass, and tastes like lemon peels, thanks to Pacific Sunrise hops and to grapefruit zest. Well, what's my place? The dry finish lends a lingering sharpness to the back end. Embrace the crispness. So a cold IPA.
I always feel like when they use hop forward as like a way of describing it, it's like a euphemism for get ready for the bitterness.
Well,
So
this
Mike, downside to the size of this bottle you got me for this gin is I've had 2 glasses already and I'm already halfway done the bottle.
well, we didn't know if you were going to like it, and to say that they're expensive.
Yeah. I imagine based on the description I read on the bottle. So Kev, you have some beer news this evening.
Beer is good! Beer is good! Beer is good! It's not! Beer is good! Beer is good! Beer is good! Let's go drink some beer!
Not good news. No,
not good news. No, I'm sorry to start us off on such a sour note. But it looks like one of our favorite breweries, at least for some of our summer brews, is closing after 157 years. Leinenkugel Brewery in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, is to close after 157 years. The beer that has become synonymous with the western Wisconsin town will soon be produced at parent company Molson Coors' sprawling plant in Milwaukee. Molson Coors said the decision to move production of Leinenkugel products came after improvements to its canning line in Milwaukee. Another smaller brewery under the Molson Coors umbrella, 10th Street Brewery in Milwaukee, will also be rolled into the company's main operation. According to the Molson Coors Company website, the Leinenkugel's Brewery, with 120 employees at the location in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, will soon be closing. Although the parent company of the brewery did not specify a closing date, Rose Bayer, who told 5 Eyewitness News her husband worked at the brewery, says the company told her husband it will be closing in January. It's really tragic. It's tragic for our family, for our community, said Bayer. I mean, we've grown up with the Leinenkugels and the Chippewa community. When you think about the community, you think about Leinenkugels. Leinenkugels started in 1867. Ever since Leinenkugels joined Miller Brewing in 1988, the brand and Chippewa Falls have been a cherished part of our company and culture. That's not changing, Molson Coors Chief Supply Chain Officer Brian Erhardt said in a statement. Leinie's Summer Shandy and the rest of the portfolio will continue to play a role in our premiumization plans. And the Leinie Lodge and adjacent pilot brewery will remain open year-round for guests to enjoy and experience Leinenkugel's beer and history. Dick Leinenkugel, a former president of Leinenkugel's, whose family managed the brewery for 6 generations, said no one in his family was consulted as part of this decision. And he has a full statement which I'll read really quickly here. I am deeply saddened by the decision of the Molson Coors leadership team to close our Chippewa Falls brewery and home. For over 157 years and 6 generations of family management, Leinenkugel has been brewing great beers for our legions of fans throughout Wisconsin and across the country. I feel for all the impacted employees and their families in Chippewa Falls and trust that the Molson Coors leadership will do everything possible to ease their pain during this challenging time. I know the Molson Coors leaders don't take these decisions lightly. It's clear to me that they determined that the savings resulting from the closure were significant enough to justify the difficult decision. None of our family members were aware or consoled ahead of the decision. It's a sad day for our family and our fans. In 2017, we came together with Chippewa Falls to celebrate our brewery's 150th anniversary. It was a defining moment of my career in beer. Alongside my brother Jake and John, and members of our fourth, fifth, and sixth generations of family, we proudly toasted our beer drinkers, retail customers, and distributors to thank them for their loyalty and support. Today, on behalf of the Line and Kugel family, I thank them again and will toast them this evening with the Line and Kugel's original and a tear in my eye. So, sad.
Yeah.
Sad,
And
but we can still get their beer.
still get their beer, but the distilleries or the brewery's closing, which means it's not being made by the family anymore now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
I'm
it seems
wondering
like
how
that
much
was a
they'll-
community staple. I mean,
Yeah.
Chippewa Falls, like you say that, there's not much more that comes to mind other than Line of Kugels.
I hear
Right.
Chippewa Falls, and I feel like it's the name of a town in like a Looney Tunes cartoon. And yeah, and it's like probably like a community thing too. Like when like a steel mill closes in like
Right.
Western PA, it probably affects the community. So yeah, we'll still get the beer, but I'm wondering what the quality is going to be like if it's not being brewed at their home, brewery.
The finest
me-
Milwaukee can provide.
Because for me, hands down, the best summer shandy
Oh yeah, by
out
far.
there is the Line of Cool Summer Shandy is the best. And
Yeah,
so I'm
and I
hoping-
like their other shandies too. Their Berry
Yeah.
Weiss was very good.
I like their Oktoberfest.
Mhm.
They had a good harvest. Yeah.
So I'm
Sunset
hoping,
Wheat, Sunset Wheat was very good.
Yeah.
theirs, too.
I'm hoping whatever the quality is for the new, brew, I hope it stays the same,
Same here.
Yeah.
And two other stories which center around our Veterans Day theme: local breweries, special ops, but it's actually special hops with H in parentheses.
Oh, I
Beer
see.
raises money for children of Navy SEALs. This is out of Norfolk, Virginia. A local brewery is once again raising money for a nonprofit that supports the children of Navy SEALs. This month, Kova Brewing Company in Norfolk is selling a special hazy IPA called Special Hops and related merchandise, with a portion of the proceeds going to the nonprofit SEAL Kids. Saturday, November 9th, the brewery in the East Ocean View neighborhood is hosting a fundraising event with its beer, merch, and family activities to help raise as much money as possible. SEAL Kids Executive Director Dr. Gretchen McIntosh tells News 3 the donations are much needed. The organization focuses on helping the children of SEALs keeps from falling behind in their education. The monies raised here help children right here in Hampton Roads, specifically paying for additional tutoring hours. Events like this locally are really important, especially because this year we are not able to fund all the families that requested support from us, she said, adding that SEAL Kids has helped more than 1,000 kids, 600 in Hampton Roads, since it was founded in 2011. The children of Navy SEALs are often vulnerable to learning struggles, McIntosh says, because they frequently have to move, and their parents can be deployed most of the year with little notice. Kova first began working with the organization 2 years ago when head brewer Matt Topping developed a special hops beer. He tells News 3 the hops used in the beer comes from a veteran-owned company. This is our third year working with SEAL Kids, and this is a partnership that we are really proud of and we love to be a part of every single year, said Kova's marketing and events manager, Emma Smith. At our core, Kova really cares about the community, and our community is the military, is the SEALs. Kova's Saturday event, Raise a Pint, Support Our SEAL Kids, runs from 3 p.m. till 9 p.m. at the brewery at 9529 Shore Drive. November being the month of the military family, Smith says the special hops beer and related merchandise are already on sale in support of SEAL Kids and will remain in stock through the end of the month. So, gentlemen, any of you guys going to Norfolk, Virginia this weekend?
No,
No,
I didn't say
not on
that
your
I
list.
am.
that's a hell of a drive.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You guys drive.
I grew up around that. Actually, I was born in the naval hospital there. So
Ah.
And
And our last one, Adirondacks Brewery announces a veteran brewed beer. Adirondacks Brewery is announcing the return of a veteran brewed beer. It's called DD214, a limited edition blonde IPA. It's brewed by veterans to honor veterans. Every year, a group of vets come together at Adirondacks Brewing for a special brewing session where they help craft this batch made with veterans and hops. The beer is named after the military discharge paperwork given to service members upon their separation from the armed forces. And that's that for that story.
it was a DD what?
DD214 Blonde IPA.
DD214.
Yep, DD214 by Adirondacks Brewery. Keep an eye open.
I have a copy of my DD214.
Oh, all right. So we'll be right back after a quick break and a word from Coffee Brothers.
I love a good beer, but right now I can use a good cup of coffee.
Have you heard about Coffee Brothers?
Oh yeah, they're that coffee company out of New York, right?
Well, they're more like a coffee wizards of New York City. They source these amazing seasonal blends and single origin coffees. It's like a flavor adventure in every cup. And get this, they roast everything in small batches. None of that mass-produced stuff. It's like each bean gets the VIB treatment.
VIB?
Very important bean.
Sounds fancy, but is it worth it?
Definitely. Plus, they're a two-person team. I mean, that's dedication right there. Two brothers, one mission to caffeinate the world. And right now, you can save 10% on your order. I mean, who doesn't love a good discount?
All right, you've convinced me. Let's get some Coffee Brothers now.
Coffee Brothers, where every cup is a sip of perfection. Save 10% on your next order with the code FNF10. That's FNF10. Cheers to great coffee. Everybody, thank you for sticking with us after that short break. A little word from our sponsor, Coffee Brothers. We're moving on to our main segment tonight, Armed Forces Actors. We're talking about actors who served in the military in honor of Veterans Day. We have two lists for tonight, both fairly short lists. We're looking at one list that is actors who are veterans and served for a short time, but did not actually see action, in the theater of war or anything like that. And then we have a list of actors who actually did have some combat experience during their military career. So for this first list, we're going to look at the actors and what they did and where they served, and then try to see if we can figure out what's the best military-related film that those actors were in, if they were in any. I'm not sure if all of these actors have been in military-related films. First one I have on the list here is Morgan Freeman, who served in the U.S. Air Force from 1955 to 1959 as an automatic tracking radar repairman. That sounds difficult. I don't know like how advanced the automatic tracking radars were in the 1950s, but
He loved
You
a
had
good
to be
Radio Shack.
You have
still
to be
sounds.
smart.
You do have to be smart. And Morgan Freeman is a smart man. I'm trying to think of movies he was in.
Well,
that were,
his
like,
best military
military.
movie would be the Civil War movie with
Yeah,
Glory.
Glory is the
Oh.
first one. The first one that pops in my mind is Glory.
yeah.
He was in another one called High Crimes in 2002, which is about a man arrested for murdering 9 villagers in El Salvador in 1988. But I've never actually heard of that film.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I think the one that I would have to say is probably his most famous and his best one would be Glory. as far as military related films go.
Mhm.
There's not much is coming up when I do the search on Google for this. I typed in Morgan Freeman military films, military movies, and that's what it gave me. It gave me oh look at this. Oh wait, no, I got it. We got more.
Oh, you
We
got more?
got we got the Sum of All Fears, which is a Jack Ryan film.
Yeah.
We got War of the Worlds. Really, does that count as a military film?
And even then, he was just the narrator.
Yeah. we got London Has Fallen and Olympus Has Fallen.
Those are Secret Service movies.
Yeah. And we got
He was like the president.
Oh, you know what? He was in Outbreak.
Shawshank? No, that doesn't count.
He was in Outbreak as a commander or something.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's one of those like the military getting involved where they shouldn't get involved kind of movies. I don't know if that's like yeah, but I'm trying to think more of like I know, but I'm trying to think more of like films where like the war was like a plot line of it. You know, Glory is the one that I think comes the closest to being that, and it's one of the few like really great like Civil War films I think too.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I think that would probably be the best one for that. The second actor I have on my list is Clint Eastwood, who served in the Korean War as a lifeguard while training at Fort Ord in California.
Heartbreak Ridge.
Heartbreak Ridge is the first one that pops in my mind for him. I also think of a couple of him that he did as a director, like Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima, which are both movies that he directed. But I'm trying to think if there was. I'm fairly certain
He's
there
done
are
more.
other ones in there. Yeah. So what it gives me is there's a lot of movies he directed, like I said. So you have American Sniper he directed. He was in Heartbreak Ridge. He directed Flags of Our Fathers, Letters from Iwo Jima, Kelly's Heroes, another one he was in. That's a military film.
Did he do one? He did another World War II movie where
The Longest Day.
that's not the one I was thinking.
That's a World War II film that he was in. Yeah, it's. I think Heartbreak Ridge is probably as far as like him as an actor. That's the one that pops in my head the most clearly when I think of him as an actor. I'm actually kind of like I'm laughing though at his like service thing that he was a lifeguard at Fort Ord. Like I would have thought Clint Eastwood would have like walked out onto like the beach at Normandy and just took out 1,000 Germans himself. Like
He wasn't that old.
no, but I'm just saying like in my head he's like the guy that like wiped out a battalion on his own.
I know what you're thinking. Was that 1,995 or 1,996 bullets?
I know what you're thinking. Was that a butterfly stroke or a backstroke? The next one I have here is Adam Driver, who very famously people know of him being in the Marine Corps. He was in the Marine Corps after the attacks on American soil on September 11th, 2001. But I don't think he actually went overseas to serve. I think he was more used at home for like first responder stuff like that. I can't think of any film he was in that's military related, unless you want to count Star Wars.
He had troops.
He was part of the First Order.
Yeah, he was part of the First Order. So let me look him up here, Adam Driver, and just see if any military films pop up on his IMDb here. Yeah, so Star Wars pops up.
J. Edgar, Lincoln.
Jaeger, yeah, Lincoln. Was he in Lincoln?
He was in Lincoln.
Oh wow, I didn't know he was in Lincoln. I mean, like half of Hollywood was in Lincoln, so it doesn't shock me. He was in the movie. Was it 63? About he lands on the Earth when the dinosaurs are there.
Jesus.
He was in another movie. I can't think of the name of it. It's sort of military related. He plays a lawyer who was involved in investigating what was happening at Guantanamo Bay. You know, so it's kind of like military adjacent. And I can't think of the name of the film because it's
Few
not a
Good
very
Men?
like. Yeah, he would have been a zygote when that movie came out. I think. I can't think of the name of it, but it's not important. So yeah, I think his closest movie to a military film is being Supreme Leader of the First Order in The Last Jedi.
Fire everything!
Next one is Chuck Norris. Served in the Air Force during the Cold War as an air police officer. Chuck Norris did mostly military films, I think.
Missing in
He was
Action.
Missing in Action 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. He did Delta Force.
Yeah.
He was in the Expendables, the last couple Expendable films. So yeah, I mean, like Chuck Norris pretty much is a military movie actor. I would argue. But let's see, like if I can get a comprehensive list here. So we got Invasion USA, The Delta Force,
Yep.
Missing in Action, Lone Wolf McQuade, Logan's War, Agent Recon, The Expendables, Delta Force 2, The President's Men, Mission in Action 2, Mission in Action 3.
Still
So-
missing.
Still missing in action. Like uh, Missing in Action 4, Watch Up My Ass. This is pretty much take your pick. I love Chuck Norris. They're not great movies. So like, take your pick. Next one I have here is Elvis Presley. Served in the Army for 2 years, taking a break from his career as a rock and roll singer. I believe he was desk duty for most of those 2 years.
And any movie that he did in uniform was, after that, just showing that he
Yeah.
was back from the Army. So he didn't really did any our military movies. He was just, I'm Elvis Presley. I was in the Army. I was in the Army. And now I'm back in Hawaii.
Yeah. Now I'm kissing my cousin. Let's see. Elvis had GI Blues.
Yeah, the GI Blues. I forgot about that.
Let me see what else we got here. That's the only one that's like kind of popping up as like a military related one. I mean, my favorite Elvis film is Jailhouse Rock, but that's not a military film.
No.
So yeah, it looks like that's the only one we got there is GI Blues, which I think is the film he did right after he got back from service. Yeah. Betty White served in the American Women's Voluntary Services during World War II. The U.S. Army recognized her service after her passing in 2021. I don't think Betty White ever did a military film.
Well, she should have done one with her co-star B. Arthur from Ghost.
I know, because B. Arthur was also in the military. They should have done. They should have done like a female version of like Abbott and Costello in the Army kind of thing.
Didn't she do a holiday special with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye?
Who, Betty White?
Yeah.
No.
Possible. I don't know. She's old enough.
No, but I think you're going with White Christmas, and that wasn't
White
her.
Christmas, yeah, Betty White Christmas.
No,
No, that wasn't her.
Betty White Christmas.
No.
Wait. She was in a TV movie in 2011 called The Lost Valentine about an American World War II widow whose veteran husband had been missing since 1943 and presumed dead. And what do you know? He shows up. This got to be a fucking Hallmark movie.
Okay. B. Arthur.
B. Arthur. U.S. Marine who served as a typist and truck driver from 19... It's so friggin' appropriate that she was a truck driver from 1943 to 45. One of the first members of the Women's Reserve. Yeah, I look at B. Arthur and I'm like, yeah, I can see her being a truck driver. B. Arthur military movies. I don't think there is one, but let's check. I was surprised by the Betty White one. So, B. Arthur. Nothing comes up in terms of like film or TV related to military, except for a film by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, which was honoring veterans who were actors, and she was one of the people that they spoke about. So that's the closest we got to that with B. Arthur. The last one is Gal Gadot. Even Wonder Woman has served in the military. Gal Gadot served 2 years in the Israeli Defense Force as a physical fitness specialist. She has a
count Wonder Woman as a.
I was going to say she got a military film on her IMDb. She did Wonder Woman, which took place in World War One.
Yes.
And arguably her best military film, because I think it's the only one you can say. So those are just a few actors who have served in the military, but I went a little bit beyond that because we have a second list here, which are veteran actors who not only are veterans, but they are actors who actually saw some kind of action in a war. And some of these are some pretty badass stories, man. First one I got on that list of actors who saw action is Jimmy Stewart, whose plane was hit during a bombing mission in World War II. This is such a badass story. I couldn't wait to read this one. So here is Jimmy Stewart's World War II story. Already an Academy Award winner for the Philadelphia story and an amateur pilot by the time the U.S. entered World War II, Jimmy Stewart enlisted in the Army Air Corps. Based in England, he commanded groups of up to 150 aircraft on a total of 20 bombing missions. During one raid, flak burst through Stewart's plane, the Dixie Flyer, taking out 2 engines and leaving a gaping hole right by his feet. On landing, the aircraft broke apart with a crack ripping from the bulkhead to the cockpit. The star of It's a Wonderful Life was promoted to a brigadier general in the U.S. Air Force Reserve in 1959 and retired from service in 1968. Jesus Christ. I would have been shitting myself the minute I saw a hole at my feet when I was up in the air.
I didn't shit.
Mary.
My plane is crashing.
Every time a bomb goes off, an angel gets his wings.
He might have been that angel if it didn't land the right way. Whew, that is a badass story, man. That's so cool. Second one I have on here is Charles Bronson, who a film actor himself, who is a military film actor in many respects. He was in The Dirty Dozen, one of my favorite movies of all time. He was in Kelly's Heroes. So he's done a number of films, but he also flew combat missions during World War II. Here is Charles Bronson's story. Drafted into the Army in 1943, Charles Bronson became a B-29 aerial gunner in B-29 bombers after a spell of punishment that he had for punching a sergeant. That is like the most Charles Bronson thing you can Charles Bronson. He flew 25 combat missions in the Pacific Theater and was awarded the Purple Heart for taking a bullet to the shoulder. His time in cramped gun turrets, combined with working as a miner as a boy, led to bouts of claustrophobia for the rest of his life. Bronson used his GI Bill to study acting. Among his most famous movie roles was as a prisoner of war in 1963's The Great Escape, which is another great film that he did, military film. On to everybody's favorite actor name to pronounce, Michael Caine. Michael Caine was surrounded by Chinese soldiers in Korea when he was serving during the Korean War.
Did we pass over? I mean, not pass over, but we're off at Charles Bronson.
Yes.
I just did Charles Bronson.
You didn't say what one film critic referred to him as.
What's that?
Clark Gable had been left out in the sun too long.
It's not in the article that I have in front of me, so I'm sorry I didn't get that fact.
Well, fine.
That is a pretty accurate description, though. I just love the fact that he was on punishment for punching a sergeant. Like, it's just that's such a Dirty Dozen thing. Michael Caine was called up for national service in the British Army during the Korean War. At one point, he and 2 comrades found themselves surrounded by Chinese soldiers. I was conscious of a growing fury. I was going to die before I even had a chance to live. Before I've had a chance to do all the things I wanted to do, he later recalled. The three soldiers decided to charge the enemy, and they lived to tell the tale. He is also star of 1977's A Bridge Too Far, which is a World War II themed film. When I hear the words, he and his fellow soldiers charged the other soldiers, the only thing I can think of is they killed those sons of bitches.
Him and the Muppets that were with him.
Yeah, they're leaving out an element of that story, I believe. Second one is Rob Riggle, who is best known now as a comedy actor. Has a lot of like cameo appearances and things like Step Brothers and Hangover, and he did the NFL Fox Sunday pick of the week for a while. I don't know if he still does it, but he did that for a while. But before becoming an actor, comedian Rob Riggle served 23 years in the Marine Corps. He earned the Combat Action Ribbon in Kosovo after being shot while out on patrol. Riggle cleared rubble at Ground Zero on 9/11 before being deployed to Afghanistan in 2001, where his commanding officer was Lieutenant Colonel Max Bowers. In 2018, Riggle played Bowers in the movie 12 Strong, about Green Berets who fought on horseback at the start of the war. So, I think it doesn't say it in the article here, but he actually reached the ranking of like colonel or something like that in the Army. Like he had a pretty high rank by the time he resigned. Let's get on to the one that Mike's been waiting to hear about. Scotty from Star Trek, James Doohan, who was wounded on D-Day. Best known for playing Montgomery Scotty Scott, chief engineer of the Starship Enterprise in Star Trek, James Doohan was a Canadian artillery officer who stormed Juno Beach on D-Day, shooting dead 2 German snipers. That night, he was hit 6 times by machine gun fire. 1 bullet took off his right middle finger. Doohan had been a victim of friendly fire from a Bren gun wielded by a nervous Canadian sentry. And he survived that shit. He died in 2005 at 85, so he survived a long time after that shit. Friendly fire, Jesus, from a machine gun of all things.
Captain, I've been shot 6 times and I still can't get it. Go.
Take off the red shirt. Take off the red shirt.
Take off the red shirt. You shut off the middle finger, you fucker. Man, that's crazy. That is a crazy story. I don't know which one's better, that one or the first one I read with Jimmy Stewart. Like, they're both pretty badass stories. Not as badass as Charles Bronson punching out his own sergeant, but still pretty badass stories. Here's one of my favorite ones, especially because this man was in the Dirty Dozen with Charles Bronson. That's Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin looks like the Army. Like he is as Army as you can get. He was a Marine Scout sniper in World War II. During World War II, Lee Marvin was a Marine Scout sniper in the Pacific. In a letter from Saipan, he described storming a Japanese machine gun nest, tripping and coming face to face with the enemy. He tried to stick his bayonet in my eye, so I took it away from him. It wasn't hard to do because he was just a little bastard, maybe 5'2" or so. I shoved that goddamn thing into his chest and all the way to the gun barrel. Holy Christ. That is so like, wow, that's badass and frightening all at the same time. And such a Lee Marvin
I went
thing.
drinking with the boys.
Yeah, such a Lee Marvin thing. I took it away from him because he was a short bastard. Star of the Dirty Dozen with a supporting cast that featured Charles Bronson, as I said earlier, was later wounded by a bullet that severed a nerve just below his spine, and still went on to have a major film career after that. That's friggin' hilarious, man. I shoved the goddamn thing to his chest all the way to the gun barrel.
Oh.
Whew, all right. The next one was one that Mike told me I missed, and I was like, yeah, I did miss this one. That's Mel Brooks. You wouldn't think a famous comedian and writer and all that would have served any sort of combat, but he did. In 1944, Mel Brooks was drafted into the Army. Due to his high scores on his military entrance exam, he was placed in the Army Specialized Training Program at the Virginia Military Institute, where he learned combat engineering and other fighting skills. 12 weeks later, he was sent to basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. In November of 44, he arrived in France and then Belgium, serving as a forward artillery observer with the 78th Infantry Division. A short time later, he was transferred to the 1104. I'm sorry, the 1104 Engineer Combat Group, participating in the Battle of the Bulge. He was sent to the forward edge of the battle area, helping to clear German landmines so Allied forces could advance. On 5 occasions, Brooks's unit had to fight as infantry and suffered casualties doing so. So he was a guy that removed mines.
Yes.
Which is just as frightening as flying in a plane without a fucking bottom. And I say,
that'll be me all over.
Yeah, I know. This is my favorite one. I saved this one for last because it's the only one I got a video clip for. Christopher Lee, who was a hand-to-hand combatant in World War II. Bring this one up. During World War II, Christopher Lee served in British intelligence and special forces fighting in North Africa and Italy. While filming The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, director Peter Jackson wanted Lee to scream when his character was stabbed in the back. Lee took the director aside and said, "Have you any idea what kind of noise happens when somebody's stabbed in the back? Because I do." Jackson commented, "He seemed to have expert knowledge of exactly the sort of noise they make." He was famously known for playing like Dracula and other things in his career. But I have a clip here. This is the clip that I just read about. This is him filming this scene. It was actually a deleted scene. You can see it in the director's cut for Return of the King. Here we go.
You ought to see me with a 357 Magnum. I'm awesome. When Wormtongue rises up and comes up behind Saruman to stab him, of course it was my job as director to talk to Christopher Lee and to explain to him what I wanted. So I started to go into this long explanation about what sort of sound he should make when he got stabbed.
I seem to recall that I did say to Peter, have you any idea of what kind of noise happens when somebody is stabbed in the back? And I said, well, because I do. Oh, yeah. You see, it's not, I like that. It's because the breath's driven out of your body.
He proceeded to sort of talk about some very clandestine part of World War II.
He used to be in the British Secret Service, whatever they were called, the OSS.
He seemed to have expert knowledge of exactly the sort of noise that they make, and so I just sort of didn't push the subject any further. I just said...
It makes me think he probably killed as many people as movies he starred in. That's pretty badass. So I got 2 little bonus ones I didn't put on here. So if you haven't noticed, we were sticking mainly to film and TV actors. We didn't do like musicians or anybody else, any other type of celebrities. But I do have 2 bonus celebrities that I threw on here just because I think they're kind of funny. The first one is Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
There is a widely spread urban legend about Fred Rogers saying that he was a sniper in the Vietnam War with, so many number of confirmed kills. According to Snopes.com, that is not a true urban legend. Not only was he not a trained sniper, he did not have any military service. He was drafted but never saw action. But somebody who did serve as a sniper in the Israeli army is Dr. Ruth.
Yes.
Dr. Ruth, the diminutive sex expert, was a trained sniper for the Israeli armed forces.
That's why my man never left me.
Yeah, exactly. Blow his ass away. Mike, you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
Can I?
Go ahead. What do you got?
Go ahead, Jeff.
What do you got?
No, I was just kind of surprised you missed one, and I didn't think about it until you had said Lee Marvin, R. Lee Ermey.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
That's a
wait,
really good one.
He? I mean, I know he's been in a lot of military movies, but has he? And yes, he was forced out of the military. At a certain point, it says was in the United States Marine Corps for 11 years, rose to the rank of staff sergeant. Later bestowed the honorary rank of gunnery sergeant by the Marine Corps and served 14 months in Vietnam, later doing 2 tours in Okinawa, Japan, after injuries forced him to retire. he moved to the Philippines and enrolled in college there and studied criminology and drama. And then he was used as a technical advisor for movies, where eventually he's been put into
So
movies. But
one of his first jobs in Hollywood was as a consultant on Officer and a Gentleman. And you can tell that he's a consultant on that because Lou Gossett Jr. uses some of the same insults that Ardley Ermey uses in Full Metal Jacket.
Right.
So he was obviously giving him some of the things to say.
Right.
So when he was with Full Metal Jacket, he was the consultant behind the scenes on that as well. Stanley Kubrick wasn't happy with the actor that he had playing the role of Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, and asked Arlie Ermey if he would step in to film some scenes. He loved it so much, how natural he was at it because he did it before, that he casted him in the role instead, and his career went from there. Because after that, he had done a number of films after that, not just military films, but he was in a lot of
He
movies.
did Leaving Las Vegas. He did Seven. He did
He was in
Saving
Seven, he was-
Silverman.
Silverman. He's a gay man in Silverman. Yeah, so he had a really. That's a good call. That's a good one, man. I totally forgot about him.
I wanted to
He
get
should
it
have
in
been.
there. You guys, you were pushing through
I know.
the show.
I
It's
was
like you got to
blowing
take
through it.
or something.
Oh no, man! It's just it wasn't it's not like other episodes where we had like so much information to go over. This was more like just focusing on one thing. But that's a good call though. Like I should have had him like top of the list.
Well,
Anyway,
when you go and look at these lists, there's like hundreds of names on these lists, and they're not all actors, so it's hard. It's easy to miss one or two or three.
Yeah, and I try to like narrow it down so it wasn't like a list of 50 names. And this is something like we can maybe revisit next year if we want to or something, because there's so many other names on there. Mike, you have any beer trivia history for us this evening?
I got a fun fact. Mozart's favorite beer was brewed in Stigau in Salzburg, Austria. This brew began brewing in 1492. Yes, the same year Christopher Columbus set sail for the New World. The beer Mozart enjoyed more than 200 years ago was most likely a dark and tangy ale, whereas Stigau produces light, golden, and malty lagers now.
All right. And as usual, we have a cinema quote of the week as well.
If you have to have a job in this world, high-priced movie star is a pretty good gig. And that was said by Pauly Shore. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
It was said by Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. And that has to be one of the most honest cinema quotes we've had so far. Nothing highfalutin about that. I'm a high-priced movie star. It's a pretty fucking good gig.
I saw that one after my day. I want to be a movie star right now.
Yeah. I just want to hit the lottery. I just want our show, our little show, to be successful enough that I can retire and do this.
That would be nice.
How are our drinks this evening, gentlemen? Kevin, you were saying yours got better the more you drank it.
Mine got better the closer to the bottom I got.
It's the rum.
It is the rum. Guys, you may not know, but I enjoy a sweet drink every once in a while.
Oh.
I know. Shocking. Sorry for dropping that bomb on you. That was not sweet at all. I mean, it's black.
What you talking about, Willis?
Really? You like sweet drinks?
I do. I know you're shocked, but and when I'm having a mixed drink, but it was okay. It got better. It got better.
Mike, how was your mic?
My first one was very good, and I went on from there. I went to the hard strawberry lemonade.
Oh,
So,
I don't think I've had that one before. Is that good?
pretty good.
All right. I really enjoyed the gin you got me, Mike. As I said, I drank a little bit more than half the bottle already, and considering it's 93 proof, and I'm feeling really good right now, I probably need to stop drinking it.
Probably.
I do have to get up and teach tomorrow, so
The next time we're down in Williamsburg, pick up the big bottle is what you're saying.
yeah, I'll give you the money for it, man. I don't care. This is really good.
All right.
Everybody, thank you for joining us tonight for episode 172, Armed Forces Actors. We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember, you can find us at linktree.com/films and fermentation. Find all our social media podcast links, or email us at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com. You can go to patreon.com/films and fermentation to support us on Patreon, or you can send us a message at 904-867-4466, the official Films and Fermentation hotline. And I'd like to thank anybody out there who purchased my novel, Isolation. I've had a lot more purchases than I expected, and I'm really appreciative of that. And if anybody's out there would like to read a fun sci-fi novel, go check it out. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented next time around for episode 173. We're doing another bracket episode. I feel like we did a few this season. But this feels like it'll be a fun one. So we're going to do a bracket episode on fictional movie weapons. Probably movies and TV. I got to see how many I can find to make a good bracket out of this. But we're going to do another bracket episode, so that should be kind of fun. So make sure you join us next time around. In the meantime, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
This has been the Films and Fermentation Podcast. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.